Welcome to Chillin' with Ice with me, Lori Fetrick, or most of you know me as Ice from the American Gladiators. Thank you for joining me on this podcast where we're going to dive in and go behind the scenes on the #1 hit iconic show of the 90s. It's time to get up close and personal on what drove us to be gladiators, what challenges we faced, and how we overcame to reach all of our goals. I know in this first season, inquiring minds want to know, was there drama, fights, hookups? Are we all still friends? What did we do in our personal lives, and how are we staying in such good shape years later? Well, stay right here and let's get into Chillin' with Ice. Before we dive into our incredible episode today, I want to let you know that this is a self-funded podcast and I would love your support. For the cost of a cup of coffee a month, you can donate to my Patreon page, and that would make all the difference in the world. For the small donation, you will get back so much in rewards. Like you can watch all of my podcasts on video. I will have exclusive content like behind the scenes footage, a private Facebook group where you can interact with me directly and other VIP fans, a monthly Q&A, direct shout outs and follows from me to you on your social media, and so much more. Find me on Patreon at Chillin' with Ice or click the link in the show notes now. Okay, let's dive in. Welcome to Chillin' with Ice with me, your host, Lori Fetrick, and most of you know me as Ice Ice Baby from the American Gladiators. And I am very excited about this new podcast, and I'd like to introduce my guest co-host for the next 2 to 3 episodes. This is April. She is my girlfriend of 13 years, and I thought who better to actually interview me than somebody who knows me really, really well that, can interview me and cut through the bullshit, let's say. Kind of funny.
Yeah.
But so
I'm
thank you
excited
for
to be
being here.
Yeah,
It's going to
thank
be a
you.
lot of fun.
I'm glad to be chilling with you today.
That's right. And we're going to go through today. Basically, this episode's going to be about my life, let's say, before the American Gladiators, because nobody has really ever asked me questions about, hey, what was it like, when you were a teenager or high school or, bodybuilding, anything like that. We've never had anything like that. So that's what this episode's going to be about. And we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So I would say, you know what? Let's just dive in.
Okay.
What do you think that my fans/audience would actually love to hear, that really has never been asked before?
Well, I think we're going to start with, what was it like to be Ice? What was it like to be that iconic kind of superhero type character in the 90s?
Well, it's interesting you say superhero, and I know that we've talked about this before, but I guess I just don't see the superhero part. I mean, yeah, we were in uniform, red, white, and blue. So yeah, kind of
Yeah.
I can see it, but I don't, I
Well,
guess.
you were superheroes to, a lot of kids, even adults. I mean, saw you as this icon, these strong, confident
Yeah,
Ninja Turtle type
we were before them.
characters.
But no, I hear what you're saying. I
You
get
know
what
I
you're
mean?
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess back then, it was television. There wasn't the social media.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were on TV, I
Yeah.
mean, it's like that was it, man. You were like, it was, pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that because, I mean, the show was huge.
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually had to write down some statistics on this, and it ran for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And actually there was 208 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
32 gladiators, which I have no idea who all 32
I didn't even know
are.
there were 32.
Yeah,
like
we'll go
10.
through that in a couple episodes, but yeah, 32 gladiators.
Okay.
And actually there was 24 games, and
Mm.
I can't name all 24 games, but I know there's the handful of games.
Maybe they can.
Probably, we can ask that question.
Yeah.
But it was a huge franchise, and I don't think a lot of people understood about what the franchise meant, which
Mhm.
means that like the UK, let's see, Australia, Germany, South Africa, Sweden, Australia, Finland. Well, they had their own teams. They literally had their own gladiator teams.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
thought it was just the UK that had
No.
it. I didn't
Mm-mm.
even know.
Yeah, other
Interesting.
countries did. So, and this
Wow.
ran in so many countries, and I tried to look up how many countries it was actually broadcast in, and I couldn't even find that out.
Wow.
But yes, it was huge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Were the characters named the same, or were they? Did
Some
they
of
have
them
their own?
transferred over. Some of them, they made their own,
Okay,
you know.
very
I got
cool.
to say that when I found out that the UK had named someone Ice,
Uh-huh.
and it was just probably, it was, I don't want to say recently, but it was years ago. I was like, what? What? They
Oh, that
took my
was
name.
that was the newer. I think that was a newer
Yeah,
show. That was not that.
it
Maybe
was.
a while back, not that long
Exactly.
ago. Yeah.
So what do you think my audience and fans would like to hear?
Well, I think we need to start with like, you know, what led up to you becoming Ice. So why don't we start with where did you grow up? Like what was your family life like back in what, the 70s, I'd
Oh
say?
my God, it seems
Ish.
like so long ago.
What was it like? What was your, what
Yeah, it
was
was
growing
back
up
in the
there like?
70s.
Yeah.
I grew up in San Bernardino, California,
Mhm.
and it was a small, normal street. When I say normal, that means like there was a bunch of families on it. And
Mhm.
so there was kids ranging from 3 to 5 years younger to 3 to 5 years older. So it was kind of perfect, you know?
Yeah.
And think about it, back then in the 70s, it was super safe back then, or
Mhm.
safer than it is way now. I mean, we left our doors open, we were playing outside until dark, all
That's
that kind of
crazy.
fun stuff.
Kids in
Um,
the street.
yeah,
You never see
completely.
kids in the street
Yeah,
anymore.
playing
It's
hide and go
sad.
seek, jumping off roofs,
Yeah.
riding your bike, your skateboards, so it was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Mhm.
Um, we as a family, I mean, I'm going to say that, yeah, we were kind of poor.
Mm.
My dad worked, my mom was a stay-at-home mom,
Mhm.
and that's the way it was back then.
Yeah.
And my mom made our clothes.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because I look back then and go, wow, we got to go out and go clothes shopping maybe once every 2 years.
Yeah. I think we have a photo of that actually,
Oh my
don't
God,
we?
this is,
A
yeah,
photo of you and your mom's made clothes.
yeah. Check this out, as a matter of fact. This is me. And I believe that pattern right there, it's kind
That's
of
hot.
cute because I think I picked it out, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And this will show on the screen. And it was strawberries, like the whole shirt, the whole pattern was strawberries. But
Yeah.
yeah, my mom made my clothes.
Yeah.
And what I remember back in that time too, growing up, is my mom was really, really heavily into this one church. And we tease her today that it was a cult. And I don't know, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
That was a cold sound.
I know it kind of did, but it was and the church is actually dismantled, and there's like little small portions of it around the United States, I
Wonder
think.
why it's dismantled.
Right, exactly. The Worldwide Church of God. But the reason I bring this up is because it was such an impact on my life as a little kid that, I mean, the rules they had, like we did have Sabbath on Saturdays. So from sundown Friday night to sundown Saturday, like no TV, no nothing. Okay, that's devastating for a kid, basically, because Saturday morning cartoons, come on, we
Like, what
couldn't
did you
watch them.
do? What
We must have, I don't know.
did you rub sticks together
Yeah,
and
exactly.
flick bottle
But
caps?
it was it was one of those kind of situations to where we couldn't eat large, so therefore no donuts. Oh my God, that's my favorite. And we didn't. The big thing here is they didn't believe in the traditional holidays,
Mhm.
Christmas, Easter, our birthdays, anything that's traditional as far as holidays. We did not celebrate.
Like, what religion was this?
They just took a lot of different things from Seventh Day Adventist, Jehovah Witness, Catholic, Baptist. They took them all. I don't want to say the bad
Like,
things.
all
Don't
the
get me
crappy
wrong,
things.
but all the.
Yeah.
And the thing of it was, is that I would, as a kid, you'd go
Mhm.
to school and like everybody was celebrating and making it, having fun with the holidays. And I couldn't understand why we could not participate as
Yeah, I
kids.
can't even imagine that because that was so a huge part of
Yeah.
my childhood was the
So
holidays.
that's one thing that definitely, as I was,
Mhm.
growing up, I remember.
Okay. Did you ever go on vacations?
Our idea of vacation was camping.
Okay.
I wasn't on a plane. You're going to laugh. I wasn't on a plane until I was 21. And I'm not even joking.
Wow, what was that
Well, we
like?
didn't have the money. We didn't have the money, so we went camping everywhere. My
Oh,
dad would take me. My dad would take me fishing when we were camping. My
uh-huh.
sister hated it. I do have a sister. She's 3 years older than I am.
Yeah.
Complete opposites. She's like a bookworm. I was a tomboy. My dad wanted a boy. He got his
I
tomboy.
got you.
But so he would take me fishing and not her because he'd teach me how to clean them and gut them, and I was totally cool with that.
Yeah.
It was not a big deal.
So you were like a good little fisherman.
I was. It was fun.
Well, what was it like to not fly until you were 21?
I didn't know.
Like
Because
that
I
must have
I
been the
never missed it because I
coolest.
didn't know what Yeah, I had
Yeah,
no
but
idea.
what was it like to be up in the air at 21 and just like looking down? Because I remember when I flew for the first time.
Anxiety,
Oh, really?
especially when you're older.
It was like magical to me.
It was a little scary for me because I was older. I think
Hmm.
that when you start as a little kid, it's different,
Yeah.
obviously.
Okay.
You know.
Do you remember what some of the games you guys played as a kid? Do you
Oh my
like
God. Yeah, I mean, think about it. Back in the 70s, we didn't have the video games. We didn't
right?
have all those kind
Didn't
of
have
things.
internet, nothing.
Yeah. So we had to build fires and put, this is funny, actually. I put leaves together and, make a fire out in the driveway. And my mom like got all scared I was going to become a pyromaniac. But anyway, we played with games like, oh my God, do you remember Spirograph?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I love
I had
that.
that.
Spirograph,
I used to love that.
Life, Mystery Date.
Mm-hmm.
I played with GI Joes, matchbook cars. I
No,
mean,
no dolls, no Barbies.
you know what? No, my sister had the ball. My sister had the Barbie dolls. I
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
play with GI Joes.
Okay, that
Hmm.
explains it.
I know,
Um,
right?
we're getting somewhere.
I know.
Okay, so speaking of, how you were kind of a little tomboy, I
Yeah.
guess. I remember you told me a story about what was it, your third grade teacher?
Oh my God,
What
that's
kind of student
right.
you were, and like tell them about that
That's
kind of.
right.
Tell them that.
My third grade teacher pulled my mother into a parent teacher conference and told my mother that I was going to turn out to be a juvenile delinquent because of the fact that I never wore dresses or skirts to school. I only wore pants.
I love it.
Go figure, what the hell is that all about?
It's
So my mom,
hilarious.
she literally scared my mom. And
Yeah.
so my mom made me wear dresses and skirts the rest of elementary school. And I remember, by the way, I had my cowboy boots on with them. And I remember my mom and my dad fighting about it. My dad would just be like, God, let her wear the cowboy boots.
That's awesome
Yeah.
that he was like on your side.
But a juvenile delinquent?
That's
Seriously?
funny because you
A
were wearing
third grade
pants.
teacher? Come on.
'Cause
Can
you
you
were wearing
imagine
pants.
today, in
Right.
today's day and age?
Yeah. No.
There's no way.
No way. So how were you as a teenager? If you were a delinquent as a child
I wasn't a delinquent as a child.
with your jeans and your boots. So,
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, in your teenage years, you think you know it all. My parents got divorced when I was 13.
Mhm.
So obviously at that point in time, my mom left and then my sister and I had lived with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I tested the waters and the boundaries as far as I could go. And I was a little rebellious.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I was testing them.
Who was your first crush in high school or as a teenager? Do you remember? Like your poster on your wall, like who was it?
Actually, I'm going to say that we're going to go back probably, I guess, what, 10, 11? Yeah, Donny Osmond. Donny Osmond, Leif Garrett, Bobby Sherman. I mean, all these different names. But as far as, who came on the scene who actually caught my eye, and I should have known something at this point in time. Was her name? Is Christy McNeil?
Mm.
I think that was her name.
Mm.
And she was like a little cute tomboyish. And I remember just even being 13, I thought, oh, she's kind of cute. Just not really thinking of anything
So
else.
at 13.
Yeah,
Yeah.
13.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So 13, is that when you kind of started noticing you were into girls? Is that when it was?
I'm going to say I was around 13. I was playing softball. By the way, I played softball from the time I was in fourth grade.
Typical.
I know all these things. I played with GI Joes.
Yeah,
I played
G.I. Joes were-
softball.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did
I
you
was.
wear flannel a lot?
I didn't wear flannel a
Oh,
lot.
okay.
I think you did.
I did, actually.
But yeah, when I was 13, I had the thought of, wow, I wonder what it'd be like to kiss a girl. And that
Mhm.
was pretty much it. I mean, like,
13. Yeah.
yeah, I was 13.
Mhm.
Is it weird? Is it different? Is like an alien? I mean,
You gonna be struck by lightning?
but
kind of
yeah,
thing?
I mean, I had that thought.
Yeah.
It was very bizarre, but I didn't act on it until I was in high school,
Okay. All right.
you know?
Did you do anything to make money as a teenager? Like, did you have any jobs, odd jobs? Like, what'd you do to make money?
It's funny because I did a lot of going around the neighborhood, mowing yards. And then, I'd start babysitting. I started babysitting
Oh yeah,
because they think
babysitting.
you're old enough at 13, 14 to start babysitting.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that I'm going to tell us this actually that I've never said it before, and that is I would go babysit for this couple. And again, mind you, we're in the 70s and they're kind of like hippies, and everything. It was like freedom and drugs and not a big deal. So I would go over to their house to, babysit their kids,
Mhm.
and they're getting stoned. And they literally would hand me the joint to ask me if I wanted to get stoned with them.
And you
And
did.
I was 13
And
and
you were gonna watch their kids,
I did. Yes, I
which is
did.
crazy.
I know. Who would you imagine? Can you imagine
No,
handing your child over and somebody going, "Hey, do you want to get stoned
no,
before
and
you watch
it's
my
like my
child?"
son was a baby at 13,
Yeah.
like that's crazy.
Well, these kids are obviously very young because they never came out of their rooms. I mean, were
Yeah.
they there? I don't
You
know.
don't
I was
even know if they
stoned.
were there. Oh my
But I remember this so vividly because of the fact that they got me stoned. And then I remember getting the munchies and probably eating all their Captain Crunch, and then all of a sudden they walk through the door and I go, "Oh, what'd you forget?" And they were like, "We've been gone for 2 hours."
Oh my God. Was that the first time you ever smoked then?
Yeah. Yeah.
At a babysitting job?
At a babysitting job.
Wow.
I mean, come on. Who does that? Except hippies in the 70s.
Hilarious. Put that on your resume.
hmm Exactly.
So going from there, did you ever want to actually become an actress, or did you ever think you wanted to be like, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I'm still asking myself that question. Um, Actually, I never thought about becoming an actress. It's really strange. I didn't look at people on television and go, "Oh my God, I want to do this." More than anything, I wanted to be a rock star. I mean, I played a mean air guitar. And I remember grabbing whatever I could grab, like a hairbrush or, something that resembled a microphone. And I would be in my living room and just like, just lip syncing and wailing. And
Yeah.
I remember that. I mean, God, that was like yesterday, it feels like.
You don't have a picture of that, unfortunately?
I don't have a picture of that. What can I say? I do
So, okay,
not.
so how was high school for you? Were you popular? Were you playing sports? Like, how was your high school experience?
I had a great high school experience. My freshman, sophomore year, my whole goal in high school, believe it or not, was to hit the varsity team. Volleyball, basketball, and softball. I wanted to hit varsity all with those sports my first freshman year. And I actually did. So that to me was an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about my coach in a minute. But high school was great. Was I popular? I kind of want to say I hung around with the popular crowd, but I mean, if you saw me in high school, no, I didn't look like the really cool, like popular girl. I mean, here,
Did you go to prom?
I did go to prom, as a matter of fact, and I do have a photo. Check this out.
Where is it?
That is my prom photo.
That looks like my mom's wedding dress,
Hey,
like
come
back
on
in the
now.
day.
What can I say?
Oh, look at you.
I know.
You don't even look like you.
Braces. My hair was up. I was so mad at my mom. My mom put my hair up for the prom. And I walked in. She's like, "Oh, it'll be so pretty." And I walk in and all the girls' hair's down. It
Really?
looks like normal,
Everybody had their hair up at mine. It was
No,
all like in
nobody
this
did.
crazy tight
Nobody
curls
did.
and like, yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, check this out. This is what I look like at 17.
Oh my God.
Okay. A
With your softball
mouthful,
cake.
a mouthful of braces, my hair parted down the middle. I mean, I was just a normal, average
Yeah.
high school girl,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay.
So high school was a lot of fun for me. Again, let's go back to my coach in high school, Coach Dudek was her name. And I really contribute a lot of my discipline
Hmm.
and how to train to her. Because our very first year because obviously she coached all three, by the way, volleyball, softball, basketball. So she coached all three, but the way her conditioning was intense. Like she would have us put ankle weights on and run up and down the bleachers and then run around the track and jump rope. And then she'd take the ankle weights off and we'd have to do it all again. Then we went in and started practicing whatever sport it was. And it was just drills after drills after drills. But you know what I learned? She took our team every single year and we were somewhat years we were undefeated. We were in first place. I mean, it was awesome.
Wow.
She made me like literally the athlete that I was and that I am today. So she was an amazing coach and I got to give that to her.
So she was like a legit coach.
She was a legit
Not like my high
coach.
school where, like Yeah, you can run or jog
Oh
or
no,
whatever
no,
you
no, no,
want.
no. She wanted to take our team first place. And so
Wow.
yeah, that's one thing that I learned from her. So it was super amazing,
Wow.
in the high school experience with that. And by the way, she was the very first one that took us in the weight room. She even took all the girls into the weight room to
Wow.
get us stronger.
That's awesome.
So,
Whereas they wouldn't have been because they were
right.
doing like aerobics and
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
So as I got older and went into the gym, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I wasn't completely new to the gym setting because she had taken us in there.
Hmm.
Mind you, freshman, sophomore,
Yeah.
kind of situation.
Yeah.
So,
So did you ever throw any, like rager parties in high school? Were you like, did you ever go to parties?
well, it's interesting that you say that because okay, so my freshman, sophomore year, I was at San Bernardino High School.
Hmm.
And once my parents got divorced, though, I lived with my dad. By the way, super rebellious, again, pushing the limits, curfews at midnight. I'd come in at 2 in the morning. I must have done that one too many
So your
times,
third grade teacher was right, actually,
maybe a
with
little
those
bit. So
jeans
I
and
must have done that
boots.
one too many times.
Yeah.
And I came in one evening and he was sitting at the table and it was pitch dark. I thought I was sneaking in and all of a sudden I heard this, "Where have you been?" And I just must have had a heart attack. He was so pissed because I was okay. He
Yeah.
was worried. I understand that. I get that.
Hmm.
But he gathered up all my clothes at 2 in the morning, put them all in his truck, all my stuff, everything, drove to my mom's house, threw all my shit on the front lawn and said, "Take her. I'm fucking done."
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So that was kind of intense and that was my sophomore year.
He was not having it.
Mm-mm. So therefore, moving into my stepfather's house, he was a chiropractor, so he had a large house, and the
Hmm.
backyard was beautiful. Big backyard, perfect pool right in the middle, everything.
Right.
So my junior year, we decided to throw a party. My parents, my mom and him went up to Las Vegas, and I thought, oh my God, perfect time. We hired a band, we had kegs, we charged money to get in the door. I mean, it was like we put flyers out even. This
Hmm.
wasn't like a small party. This is like we made flyers.
Wow.
And so the flyers went to our high school and then to other high schools.
Hmm.
It was a rager. And this must have been, I mean, we must have literally had 300 kids at this party. Yeah, it was
And you were
crazy.
charging.
And we were charging money at the door. We had to pay
Wow.
the band. We had to pay off the keg.
Hmm.
The funny thing is that of course your parents call every night. We should have known this, but we were kids and we didn't even think about it.
Right.
And that is they called one evening and my stepsister answered the phone. She got nervous and hung up.
Instead of just not answering the
Well,
phone.
they would have kept calling because they knew we were
Oh,
home.
well.
So I don't even know what we were thinking at that point in time. But what they did is they called the neighbor. The
Hmm.
neighbor's like, yeah, you've got like 300 kids in your house. And so they called the cops on us. We had helicopters and cop cars and everything else.
Helicopters even.
Yeah,
Did
100%.
you get in big time trouble? Like
No,
what
we were
was your
minors. We were minors. We had to give all the money away to charity, which kind of sucked.
Wow, that was it.
Yeah.
And then were you grounded? Did they
Oh God, yeah. I got grounded all the time.
So
And that's how I got so good at playing pool because my stepfather had a pool table. So when I was grounded, I would just play pool all the time.
did your dad know that you were also into girls? Is that why he was also over you? Did you
No,
notice you were
no.
when did you realize that you were gay or bisexual, or did you have a boyfriend first?
Oh
Or did you have a
yeah.
girl?
Oh
Okay.
yeah. I dated all
Hmm.
through high school. No, I thought like I said, I thought about what it was like to kiss a girl when I was 13.
Hmm.
I met my best friend my junior year, basically I'm going to blame it on her. Yes, I will, because she's the one who was like, "I have a secret I want to tell you."
It's always the
It's always the best friend.
best.
And it was just, I kissed another girl. And it was
Yeah.
almost like testing the waters how I was going to react. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, whatever."
Yeah.
We wound up making out. Yeah. And it kind of started there.
Uh-huh.
Um, and what was funny is that I mean, yeah, she was my girlfriend, but I never considered her my girlfriend. It was just something we were doing. I thought it was a phase.
So your parents had no idea this was happening.
My parents had no clue whatsoever. We were dating guys. We were going on dates,
Yeah.
me and her, my best friends. We'd go home and sleep together.
And did the guys ever know?
They never knew.
Wow.
They never knew.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of
That's
crazy.
crazy. I think I
But
did that once, actually. That's funny you say
I'm
that.
sure you did.
I won't mention any names,
But
but
again, I thought it was a phase. I really did. I thought it was a phase that I was going through.
yeah.
And eventually I was going to get married, have kids, have the normal life, because that's what my parents like brainwashed me into thinking.
Hmm.
So I didn't get to go to college. It wasn't like I was thinking of a career,
Right.
you know, and that was kind of sad. I wish that they had definitely kind of molded me into
Giving you a
something.
path of some
Yeah, given
sort.
me a path, but there was no
Yeah.
path.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, she'll get married and have kids because that's what they did.
Yeah.
They didn't know anything else. And so it kind of trickled down,
She
what
was
they
like, "You're
knew.
pretty. You'll find a
I
man. He'll
know.
take care of you."
So it was a phase I was going through. I
Hmm.
didn't admit it to myself really until I was 28. And that's when I met one of my girlfriends that I completely fell in love with. She was gorgeous. And I just went, I'm gay.
Do you
I'm
have a photo
gay.
of this time in your life? Do you have
Um,
one
I do
at all?
not, but I'm sure that I could probably find one. Oh, I do have a photo. I do have a photo of when I was 19. Remember the parachute
Oh my
pants?
God, yes.
Oh yeah.
I'm loving the hair and the headband,
Oh
really, is what I'm
yeah.
loving.
Exactly. That was when around 19 when I was just starting to go out.
Okay. So just starting to go out and party, maybe?
Yeah. Going out and
Um,
partying.
so when was the first time that okay, what kind of jobs did you have actually?
Oh God, my
Like
first
when you got
job.
yeah, when you were a little bit older, like I don't know, out of high school, what were you doing?
Did we all start at McDonald's? Because I did.
No, I didn't do fast food. I did serving, but I didn't do fast food.
Now, see, I was never a server. I was
Yeah.
a bartender, but I
Oh,
was
okay.
never a server. So I started at McDonald's, went to Del Taco. I think I was a cashier at like a car wash.
Mhm.
I worked at UPS as a cashier, not as a trucker, think driver or whatever, loading the trucks. And then I worked at a place called Celotex Marley. It might still be there, who knows? But they made Spanish tiles for roofs. That was like
Okay.
the labor job.
Uh-huh.
Then I went to like this place called Leo Stereo.
Mhm.
Leo's Stereo and University Stereo. Okay, back then, I don't think they were across the United States. I think in California. But like you would go there to buy your big, huge home speakers and your turntables
Yeah.
and your cassette decks,
Mhm. Yep.
and stuff like that.
Yep.
So there was just this ginormous store.
Mhm.
I worked there down in Newport Beach.
Yeah.
And then I kind of graduated and went into their corporate office, as a
Mhm.
matter of fact. And their corporate office, we were just like auditors, meaning that, back then, again, it wasn't computers where everything was, pushed out to corporate. It was like literally they had couriers bringing in their packets to corporate with their receipts, their money, and everything. We audited to make sure they matched.
Right.
That's what we did. And that job was a lot of fun, and there was two reasons why that job was a lot of fun. One of the reasons why is because at that point in time, I was like 19, 20 years old.
Mhm.
I was a little bit more into girls, I want to say, started partying a little bit more.
Mhm.
And then there was like, I remember there was a girl that would walk around the office, and I'm not even joking. She would take our drug order. And what I mean by that, I know it sounds absolutely terrible, but at the time, you got to think at the time.
Yeah.
It's not now, it was back
Reminds
then.
me of what it was the movie? Uh
Which one?
with the Wolf on Wall Street or
Pretty
whatever.
much exactly. Well, you know what? Think about it because that's exactly what the orders they were taking, Quaaludes and cocaine,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
we weren't excessive about it. It was on the weekends.
Yeah.
And so we would go like that Friday night meet up, and have our little party at the house. And then we'd go over into Hollywood, and there was this club, and it was only for girls, and it was called Peanuts.
Wow. There was
So
actually a girl
it was
bar.
actually a girl bar. And I was just like, again, I had my fake ID, and I just thought, oh my God, this is the best thing.
That
And
would
it
have
was
been cool
so much
because
fun.
there's no girl bars anymore. If someone, could you please open a girl bar? That'd be awesome.
You would think in Los Angeles,
Yeah, of
exactly.
all places. We have a night,
I
but we
know.
don't
They're
have
all
and it's
boys.
a Wednesday night,
They're all boy clubs,
and it's
but
still
it's
mostly
different.
boys.
It's different.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It'd be cool to have a girl club.
It would be.
So, okay, after all the partying,
Yeah, I did party a lot.
oh wait, because you were working a lot, you were sitting a lot. And that's when you, I think, joined a gym, right?
Yeah, as a
Because
matter of fact, after I left University Stereo, I went to another company and I walked in and I again doing an accounting. And at that point in time, and I love these women, there was 4 women in the back that I worked with,
mm,
and they're kind of heavy set. And I thought, oh my God, if I sit here and I just do this and I keep eating, is this where my life is going? I mean, I was an athlete,
yeah.
you know? So I started going to the gym during lunch. And that's when I hit, I don't know, way back when it was called Bally's.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And remember, it was like you could have a Bally's membership for $1 a year or
Bally's
something like
Total
that. There you
Fitness.
go, exactly.
Yeah.
So I would go on my lunch hour and I would, all the girls were doing aerobics. I kind of did aerobics maybe a couple times,
Yeah.
and then I went into the weight room because I wanted to lift weights.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, but then I I met somebody and they said, you need to go around the corner here and there's another gym and it's more of a serious bodybuilding gym. And I think you'd fit in there. So I went over there and it's called Brignoli's.
Mm.
And I met a couple really cool trainers and they're just like, oh my God, you have the genetics to be this great bodybuilder. I didn't even know what bodybuilding was then.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's how you got introduced to the bodybuilding world. Did you actually do shows and did you get into that?
Well, I actually started training, and it was 1 year later
Mm.
I actually did my very first show.
Yeah.
Because my whole thing with me and my life, it's like I need a goal. I couldn't just go in and train to train,
Mm-hmm.
I needed a goal to go to. So it was like, okay, if I'm going to go into the gym every day or every morning, and that's really what I started doing, as a matter of fact, is I had to be at work at 8 o'clock. I was so disciplined that I get up at 5:30 and I would be in the gym by 6 o'clock. I would train for an hour, hour and a half, and then get ready to go to work, which was right down the way.
Wow.
I mean, I can't even get up now 8 o'clock. I mean, I have a problem getting up early to go play golf,
Like
which
fanning the
I
coffee in your
love.
face. Time to get up.
But yeah, I mean, back then it was like no big deal. Boop, pop up at 5:30, go to the gym. But I
Wow.
had a goal.
Yeah.
I wanted to compete.
Well, that's probably where your discipline came in, was from
And that's what I was going
your
to say.
coach.
That's what I was going to say from my coach.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. And so I started training. I had a couple trainers, as a matter of fact. My first one, and I'll give her credit, Lee Brandon, you're awesome. She's the one who actually kind of talked me into this,
Mm-hmm.
into bodybuilding, and she trained with me for a while. And then from her, I went into another trainer. His name was Andy Lodi.
Mm-hmm.
Andy was awesome. Andy. Even today, I can hear him in the back of my head going, "Come on, push it harder. Stop being a baby." I mean,
Yeah.
he was like that kind of a coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, as a matter of fact, I mean, I have a couple photos here from my very first show ever and what I looked like when I did actually diet down. Look at that. I mean, I was just like so little and
Let
thin,
me see.
but I had the muscle.
This was in a year.
That was a
You were
year.
ripped in
Well,
a year.
and that's why they said genetically I had
Wow.
what it took. I had the
Yeah.
shoulders, I had, kind
Yeah.
of like the V shape, the little hips,
Yeah.
and I just had to build the muscle on top of it.
It's been like 20. I'm still trying to get like that. But that's a
Yeah,
year.
well, you don't train like I do. That's why.
Oh. Oh, is that what it is? It might be the
And you
hot
eat like
Cheetos.
shit. Let's be
It
real.
might be the hot Cheetos.
It's the hot Cheetos.
And
What do you
wine.
want? What are you looking for?
Oh, I thought you had another picture.
No, we'll get into those in a little bit.
Okay. So how many shows did you do? Did
After
you go pro?
after my first show, let's see, I did city, and then I did a couple like town type events,
Mm-hmm.
and then I did state, and then I went nationals.
Okay.
And you had to win the nationals in order to go pro
Mm.
at that point in time back then.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like now. And I wanted to go pro, but that's when Gladiators came along. But throughout my bodybuilding year, I mean, if you think about
Did you
it,
make money in bodybuilding? Like, how did that back then?
There was no money to be made in female bodybuilding unless you went pro. And even if you went pro, you just got, I'm sure you got a couple endorsements, you got some magazine coverage, but there was no money to, well, unless you became a personal trainer,
Mm.
you could make money that
Fitness
way.
trainer, yeah.
But I would say most of the women, not even most, I'm going to say a handful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Back then, there was this underground kind of female wrestling thing going on.
The underground.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
and this came out with the documentary Killer Sally,
Mm.
and she was spot on. I mean, that going into that, and I always said, oh my God, there needs to be a documentary literally all about the underground kind of like side hustle that, female bodybuilders do as far as the wrestling world is concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's interesting because um I tried it once. I did because I mean the money's there.
Yeah.
Because what was happening is these guys would get in touch with you and they called themselves producers, and they said, "Hey, we'd love to do a video with you. We'll pay you $500." And back then I was like, "Oh my God, okay, $500 for a video. What do I got to do?" "Oh, you're just going to be wrestling a couple dudes."
Did you have to stand on their balls and stuff?
Stop. We didn't do that. That's the fetish shit later on. I mean,
Oh,
no.
okay. My bad.
That's a whole nother
Well,
subject.
I had
I'll
to
tell you
know.
about that.
I had to know who I'm dealing with here, you know?
Well, and so the bodybuilding, I mean, that wrestling world,
Mm-hmm.
again, would you do this? I was like, oh, $500, just wrestle some guys. I was big and buff at the time. I was like, oh, why not? And I remember when I was actually doing this,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, oh, again, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend anyone or, kind of like look down. I'm not looking down on it. It just
Mm-hmm.
wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I didn't feel right about it. I didn't feel right about having a dude's head between my legs when they're pretending and they're like, squeeze my head harder when their face was in my crotch. I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't feel it. Something didn't
Yeah,
fit,
I could see that. That'd be kind
and
of,
then there's like a lot of different moves in wrestling called the scissor move. Literally, they lay on top of you and you're supposed to, bear hug them. Well, they're laying on top of you. I mean,
of
it's
course.
like all these different things. And for
Just
me,
super sleazy, like,
I
yeah.
mean, it wasn't for me. And
Mm.
I did try it once,
Yeah.
so I'm sure if somebody, I don't even know if it's out there, they tossed it or burned it or whatever, who knows. But yeah, that whole world is really interesting. And then it kind of goes further into the fetish. I mean, I do have a few friends that have done it. And like, oh my God, there's, certain videos out there to where it's like you can get paid to kick these guys in the balls.
Yeah.
I mean, how crazy is
I
that?
mean, sign me up, you know? Shit, I'll do that all day for $300 an hour. Where are you
Oh
at?
no, it's more than that.
I got some shit kicking boots. I can kick you in the balls all day long if you want.
Oh my God, you're terrible.
Gonna pay me to do that?
I know,
Sure, why
right?
not?
But
Yeah.
as far as the bodybuilding was concerned, I mean, I really got into it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Did you get your pro card?
I never got my pro card,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. I wish that I kind of wish I would have already went there,
Yeah.
but that year is when the Gladiator tryouts came along.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So, well, not even then. Let's go back. I placed third in the nationals in the heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually did I have to win the nationals
Yeah.
in order to go pro. So I would have had to keep competing.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way, in order to win the nationals to go pro.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
So how did you end up hearing about the Gladiator tryouts and stuff?
mm, that's going to come later.
Okay.
But as far as, let's go back to the bodybuilding for a minute, because there's a lot of things that, I mean, I'd like to touch on that a lot of people don't know,
Okay.
and that is like what I ate, how I got ready for these shows. I mean, it's out there, but at the same time, I think back then it was pretty unhealthy.
Yeah, the way you guys lost it so fast and then you gained a bunch of weight. Well, and then can we talk about, the little taboo part of it that everyone is intrigued about, I'm sure, about, how steroids were, you know, in every sport. It was everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, let's
So,
be real.
and you
Yeah,
can't get
and it is an enhancement. Now, mind you, it's not a magic pill.
mm,
And that's one thing I will talk about is
mhm,
steroids are not a magic pill. It's like if you're taking them, you still have to train your ass off and
mhm.
you still have to eat correctly
Yeah,
in order to gain that muscle or get ripped.
right.
Well, the problem is what was happening is I won my first show. And it wasn't a problem, but I'm so competitive
Mhm,
that, okay, bring on the next show.
mm,
Well, the next show I placed second. And I was
mm,
like, oh, well, that's kind of bullshit. What do you mean I placed second? So what was happening, I noticed, is the judges, they were picking the bigger, the more ripped girls. So
mhm,
therefore, it kind of, if you wanted to be in the sport,
mhm.
and I'll call it a sport, it really is. If you wanted to be there, you had to play the game.
Yeah,
So if the judges are picking bigger, more ripped, well, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to make the decision. Do I go into the world of steroids or do I not?
yeah, because you're not gonna get that big though without steroids.
No,
I mean,
it's
everybody was
absolutely impossible for a woman to do that.
no, well, even men were striving to be what Arnold and
Yep.
Ferrigno.
Oh God, yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you can't.
You can't get there
I mean,
without
it's
it.
like go big or go home at that point, at that day and
100%.
age,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
that's how it was.
So okay, as competitive as I was, yeah, I
Mhm,
dabbled. I definitely did the steroids in order to win, to get to the next level.
mhm.
But I was always a little afraid of them, so I was kind of like very, I want to say minimal when it came
You're
to the
like just a
steroids.
bump.
So
Yeah,
yeah, just a little bump.
yeah.
So if somebody was like, okay, well, you need to take, like, let's say if it was, yes, some of them were injections, which is even more insane because
Mm,
I'm super afraid of needles. And I mean, I pass
yeah,
out at taking blood,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
some of them, you had to stick a needle in your ass. And, if it was like take 1 cc, I would literally take half or even maybe a quarter of it. I was
Mhm,
so kind of really, I was shy about taking them. I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to look like this big dude and blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
But yeah, I look back on my bodybuilding photos and I'm like, holy fuck, I got pretty big. You know?
You think? Do you have the picture? You have
I do
pictures
have
of
I do
before
have some
of like
photos here, as a
when you
matter of
got
fact.
super cut and then when you after when you let it all hang out and let it go.
Yeah, I do. I mean, here's a bunch of photos that like from, the beginning of bodybuilding, all the way through different,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yep.
these will be definitely shown. You guys are all see these things. These are just amazing photos. You're going to see all the photos,
I
actually. I'm
love the
sure you have.
beefcake one. That's awesome.
But
Oh,
it's,
this is you in a dress right here.
yes,
This is
yes.
not something that I have.
Okay, so that was the other thing. There was like a lot of guys that wanted to photograph a lot of these
Yeah.
muscular girls, and they were like, "Hey, can you put on 5-inch heels?" And I was just like, I felt so stupid. It's like I'm like a big bodybuilder girl. Why do you want to see me in 5-inch heels? I
Right.
don't know. It was just one of the things back then.
Where's the one of you? You have the one the after.
Okay,
This
so
is my favorite
I know, I know, I know.
because it look. I can't even believe it's you.
Now
So here.
here's the inch. Okay, and I'm gonna talk about this photo for a minute.
Yeah.
So before a stop laughing. Before a competition, we would do something
Wow.
called bulking up,
Yep.
which meant that you're going to eat anything and everything under the sun to put as much weight on and hopefully muscle on as you can before you start dieting down to the show.
Yeah.
So I would try to gain as much weight as I possibly could before dieting down. So
Hmm.
that photo right there, I mean, I think I got up one time to 180,
Hmm.
as a matter of fact, and I was competing at 155, if that
Wow.
tells you anything. So we would take 3 months to diet down.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, your body, why 3 months and why it was so hard is because your body naturally would rather feed off of muscle first
Hmm.
rather than body fat because it's just the way our body's made for survival mechanisms.
Mm.
So you had to train your ass off with heavy weights, do cardio, and at the same time diet down. Now, there's a lot of things that I know now that I wish I'd known back then.
Hmm.
Like when I talk about dieting down, I was eating nothing but boiled fish, um, let's say chicken
Mm.
breast only, broccoli with no sauce, no nothing, and like maybe a baked potato or a small thing of rice or pasta. Okay, so these were so strict. And then once a week, while we were dieting down, we could have what is called a carb day. Well, that carb day was more of a cheat day to where you could eat whatever you wanted. So I was eating like, we would go to breakfast, and I kid you not, I wanted everything on the menu because I was so hungry from dieting all week.
Mm.
I would have pancakes and omelets, and by the time the day was done, you were sick.
I was gonna say, did you make yourself sick after that?
Yeah,
After
you
eating
were.
so clean and then
Hmm.
eating syrup and butter and all that?
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
You were so sick and gassy. It was just
You were like, "Oh, I just wanna diet again."
you were ready to diet the next day. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
So we would do this for 3 months to hold as much muscle as we possibly could. And now here's the insane part.
Mm.
We'd go to the show, we'd do the show, and literally the next day, we would just like eat whatever we wanted. And you would gain almost 10, 15 pounds in 1 week.
No
And
way.
how that's possible, it's just all through water weight.
That's
It's insane. So you would
crazy.
just blow up and look like this balloon as you're walking through the gym when somebody just goes, oh my God, she was shredded 2 weeks ago.
How
But
crazy.
that's what I meant by I wish I'd have known things back then that I know now. Like, I mean, we completely took out all the fats out of our diet, completely, 100%, like abs, everything. I wish that I would have known that if I would have been adding some avocados, good
Yeah,
fats,
because that's
some
dangerous, right? I
peanut
mean, you
butter,
need
some,
fat.
well, my body would have released the
Yeah,
fat
that too.
easier,
Mhm.
because since I was completely starving it and depleting all, it just
Yeah.
hung on to it as much as I, possibly could. But yeah, there was steroids to get big, and then there were steroids to cut.
Mm.
I mean, I remember there's something out there called Winstrol V. Now, I'm laughing about it because I'm thinking what an idiot I was. Winstrol V is a horse steroid.
Mm.
It's for race
Wow.
horses. It's for race horses. And you would take the Winstrol V before the competition because it would get you shredded.
Wow.
But again,
How
that's
long
so stupid.
before were you taking it?
Like 2 months before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Everything was, I mean, to me, I tried to keep everything in moderation. But obviously, once bodybuilding was done, I was done. I done with steroids.
Mhm.
Didn't ever touch them again.
Wow.
So even when I went into Gladiators, when everybody was thinking that we were all on steroids. No, that was
Mhm.
way before the show. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
During, no, didn't, nothing like that,
Okay.
you know. So the bodybuilding days, it was a lot of fun. It was really intense. I did it for a solid, I'm going to say 6 to 7 years,
Mhm.
but that's exactly what led me up to Gladiators. I would have
Yeah.
never gotten Gladiators if I hadn't have chosen this path.
Mhm.
So honestly, everything that I've done in my early days
Mhm.
completely led me up to the time when I went to go try out for the American Gladiators. I was ready. I was prepared.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know I was preparing myself.
Okay. So that's what we're gonna get into that in the next episode. So
Yes.
we have to wait.
Yes. The next episode is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be all about basically my first year trying out what it was like,
That's awesome.
you know.
So recap, basically.
Recap on today is, I mean, everything that I did in my childhood. I feel I had a great childhood. I was a little rebellious. Um, I think I was a normal teenager, but I think back on different things and I was like, oh, maybe, I could have done things differently. But you know what? I wouldn't change a thing for the world. Everything led me up to where I was supposed to be at that time.
Yeah. Especially
And
your coach getting you like prepared for such intense training.
absolutely. From yeah, my coach teaching me, from my other coaches in bodybuilding, getting my body ready and
Mhm.
prepared. But yeah, it was, I had a great childhood. It led me up to where I was supposed to be. And yeah, it was awesome. It was great. And so this is the part of the story that nobody has ever heard before. Like, how were you before a gladiator?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, what led you up to this? How were you as a child? Well,
Yeah.
I was a little tomboy, rebellious little shit. I mean, I left a lot of things out, but what the hell? It was fun.
And that's how you get ice right here.
Exactly. So thank you so much. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. I'm excited for the next episode too,
I
because
am excited too.
that's gonna be a fun one to do as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. That's it.
Signing off.
Signing off. Thank you so much for listening to Chillin' with Ice. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share wherever you listen to your podcast. Remember to follow us on Patreon and YouTube at Chillin' with Ice. And on Instagram and TikTok, you can follow me at lori.ice.fetrick. I look forward to chilling with you next time here on Chillin' with Ice.